This is Hannibal here from the HannibalTV.com with my daily wrestling news update. Smackdown did a record low last night for their show on Fox. Of course, their new champion, Braun Strowman, was in a feature match on that show against Nakamura, who Sid calls Yakamura, which is pretty funny. But yeah, they did a 0.4 rating, which was last among all original programming on television last night. So that's pretty bad. I also reported earlier today that WWE put out a statement saying that one of their employees had the coronavirus and has recovered. It's either a referee, an announcer, or an interviewer. They haven't revealed it yet. The U.S. Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, Dr. Ben Carson, did do an interview with Fox today saying 98% of all people that get the coronavirus will recover. So let's hope that that's the only WWE employee that gets it, and I hope that no wrestlers get it. We're still on a record here that no professional wrestler has actually tested positive for the coronavirus, so that's pretty good. There's a lot of controversy regarding Ronda Rousey, who does not like wrestling fans, apparently. She says that right now, and I'll quote her on this, so it's just like, what am I doing it for? If I'm not being able to spend my time and energy on my family, but instead spending my time and energy on a bunch of fucking ungrateful fans that don't appreciate me. I love performing. I love the girls. I love being out there. But at the end of the day, I was just like, fuck these fans, dude. My family loves me and they appreciate me. I want all my energy to go into them. So that was my decision at the end of the day. It's like, hey, girls, love what you're doing, but I'm going to try and take my momentum and push you guys as far as I can. Fly, little girls, fly. I'm fucking going home. Despite Ronda Rousey saying this, who knows if she's just playing the heel or not. Dave Meltzer believes that she is going to wrestle next year at the Wrestlemania in LA, one of my favorite towns in the U.S. Nikki Jax responded to Rousey's comment saying, I can't wait for Ronda to one day return to WWE, even if WWE orders me to make Ronda look good in the ring, which is the only way for Ronda to look good in the ring with me. I'll risk my job to go down in history as the one from the biz that knocked her the fuck out. Hashtag test me, bitch. Lana and Alexa Bliss also criticized Rousey for calling pro wrestling fake. And then Rousey responded them by saying, anyone who is outraged by me calling pro wrestling fake, quote, fake fights for fun, has never been in a real fight. Well, you are all tiptoeing around, bruising some pro wrestlers, huge soft egos. No one is thinking about real fighters you're insulting when you're pretending pro wrestling is somehow on the same level as realism. Yes, I understand wrestling 300 days a year for years on end is incredibly tough on the body and a difficult profession. But do you know what would happen if you got into 300 real fights a year? You would be dead. Rousey hashtagged that post with kayfabe killer. Well, you can't really argue with Rousey calling pro wrestling fake when you have John Cena and The Fiend evaporating in their matches and disappearing and reappearing to thin air. It's become very fake. We have guys like this piece of shit, Joey Janela, who has never been in a real fight. I would bet on that because I saw him pussy out when Enzo tried to fight him at that Blink 182 concert. I saw the video. He's doing these social distancing matches, taking bumps from 6 feet away. We have Kenny Omega wrestling basically blow-up dolls. We have all kinds of bizarre shit going on in AEW, such as Orange Cassidy. So I can't defend that pro wrestling is not fake anymore. When it was kayfabed and there was believable angles where you could suspend your disbelief, it was better than MMA. And definitely the pain is real in wrestling. The pain is definitely real in wrestling. When Abdullah the Butcher hit me in the head with a coffee pot, a video that's on YouTube, I had to get 64 stitches. Okay. And it felt like someone took a blowtorch to my head when he did that. When Jeremy Prophet jumped on me from the top rope onto the outside, missed my body, and actually landed ass first on my head, sending my head through the table, bashed on the concrete, gave me a concussion, split my eye open. There was nothing fake about that. Wrestling is very painful. Ronda Rousey has not had like that realistic match. Nikki Jax is right. She's basically had people make her look good. So she's never really taken the punishment that some wrestlers have. So I understand how she might feel that way. I'm not necessarily for or against what Ronda Rousey said because the current television products in wrestling are fake. When you have Ken Shamrock on Impact taking flips from Joey Ryan's dick, I can't get into an argument with someone anymore to defend professional wrestling. It is fake. When you have Drew McDonald or whatever the hell his name is beating Brock Lesnar, a former UFC champion, in 4 minutes and having McDonald so good, et cetera, I'm not going to defend people that call pro wrestling fake anymore because a lot of the stuff on TV is fake. But yes, I'll be perfectly honest with you. Other than one fight that I got into with a group of people that was really, really bad, I was hurt in pro wrestling more than any other fight I've been in my life. And I've been in a lot of fights in my life, real fights, okay, street fights, and not to mention amateur wrestling matches. I actually did have knee surgery due to an amateur wrestling match, though, so you could say I got injured from amateur wrestling. But I'm not your typical pro wrestler. I've been in a lot of fights, and I probably had at least 1,000 amateur wrestling matches, probably at least 100 grappling matches in my life as well, and 3 kickboxing matches. Goldberg has also spoke about Roman Reigns being replaced by Braun Strowman at the last minute. He said to CarCast, obviously I had a change of opponents at the very last minute. Roman Reigns, everybody knows he has leukemia. He's in remission, and obviously his immune system is down. And so I don't know why it was even considered in the beginning, except for the fact that we'd invested time and WWE invested money in the angle, in the match. Apparently he says a lot. So literally until the 23rd hour, it was still a possibility that he and I were going to wrestle. So plans kind of change at the very last minute. I did my match with Braun, and it was possible that I could have done the match with Roman again before the 5th, the night that the match aired. That obviously fell through. So the little scoop that Goldberg gave there is, even though he had the match with Braun, there was still consideration that since it was taped, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks in advance, week and a half in advance, they were still going to try and put together the Roman Reigns match. The Roman Reigns match, though, he says they invested a lot of TV time in it and stuff. They only had one confrontation, and that was an in-ring confrontation. I saw it in front of no crowd. And the highlight of that confrontation was Goldberg flipped the table that was in the ring. It was really lame. There wasn't much buildup to Goldberg against Roman Reigns. So I actually think Roman Reigns not being there really doesn't make a factor, because I don't think anyone was really excited about that match, to be perfectly honest. And he does have leukemia. Apparently, the hearsay story is Roman Reigns showed up to do the match. The Miz showed up, I guess, that same day or something, and was sick with some type of cold or something like that, according to the rumor and innuendo. And somehow Roman Reigns found out there was someone at the Performance Center who was sick, maybe realized that he was putting his family in danger by continuing to do these shows, even though everyone else is on lockdown, and chose to not work for WWE during this period. It's unknown when he'll come back. To my knowledge, and the Wrestling Observer did report this week, Roman Reigns has been the only WWE performer that has refused to work. That might change now that it's come out that some talent in WWE, one talent, supposedly had the coronavirus and recovered, but it wasn't a wrestler. Florida right now is shut down other than WWE. All sports are off, and they're also on lockdown. So I guess it must be Vince McMahon's great relationship with Donald Trump and the government in Florida that allows him to continue taping events, as he's going to continue taping 3 live events a week. Dave Meltzer said on the Wrestling Observer radio today that he doesn't see the XFL restarting in 2022 because costs would be very high. It's basically done, but not officially. Even though they laid everyone off, they haven't made any statement saying it's closed forever. But definitely they're closed for now and 2021. Meltzer also says AEW is lucky they signed their new TV extension in January before all this pandemic stuff started happening. By the way, some people were asking if Kenny Omega is bisexual. I did see a documentary on him the other night that seemed to indicate he was bisexual, and I'm not saying that in a negative way. I really don't care if he is or not, but it appears that he is. For the people that keep saying ratings doesn't matter, Dave Meltzer stressed it again on the Wrestling Observer radio today, that ratings now matter more than ever, because the way companies are staying in business and their main sources of revenue is TV deal money. So they need to get good ratings to keep these TV deals coming in. So that's the main news for today. I'll get in some of your questions. Coach HG says wrestling may finally need an off season. I think they would have been better off taking an off season personally than going with the shows they're doing now, because I think it's going to cause, and it is causing, a decline in interest in wrestling. There was already a decline. Maybe with a break, people would have missed it. But then again, they do have TV deals that are paying them a lot of money, and they want to keep making that money. Steve Solet says, I don't really blame Rhonda for her comment. Horukin says WWE needs to do what NWA is doing, get YouTubers like me in the wrestling community to discuss reactions. Well, NWA is not getting me to do anything, so I don't know what you're talking about there. CG Too Much says send Rousey back to the UFC. I think her UFC days are over and done with, as we saw by her last 2 fights. And her last fight, the referee actually saved her. In my opinion, she didn't seem to really want to be into the fight, but he definitely stopped it a little early there with Rousey in her very last fight that she had. Underdog says it's called ignoring the fans instead of putting your foot in your mouth. Dark Moon Warrior, will Money in the Bank happen? Apparently, it's still going to happen, but as an empty arena show. The show in the arena has been canceled. Coach G says crazy people wanted this women's revolution in wrestling so bad, yet the women say more obnoxious shit than the men. True. I haven't actually heard of any MMA male fighter that's been in WWE say that wrestling is fake. But as I've said, the crap that they're putting out there, such as this Firefly Funhouse match, you cannot defend wrestling. I cannot defend that. I cannot defend people that say that's stupid because it is stupid. Panther HD1, she'll never go back to UFC. She's ungrateful to MMA and wrestling. And yes, she did make a lot of money in wrestling, millions, and everyone did make her look good. I agree with the girls on that. She's not a great wrestler by any stretch. Those girls made her look good. Someone says she's so overrated. She's got a huge head. Stephen King Uncut, the fans are the ones that made her UFC and WWE by the fans buying her tickets and merchandise. Without the fans, she would be nobody. Demos, can we get a Sting interview? I don't believe he's in my budget. He's a multi-millionaire. Dark Moon Warrior, Karen Jarrett interview. Is she still with Jeff Jarrett? If she is, likely not. Because apparently Jeff Jarrett doesn't like me because I interviewed his father, Jerry Jarrett, and he didn't like what Jerry Jarrett said about him in the interview, and he's holding that against me, according to what Dave Penzer told me about him. Underdog says, LOL, Blink 182. They weren't bad. I did security at a concert for them back in 2001. And at least back then, they had some really hot female fans. Horuken, that looked funny when he hit you with the coffee pot. I'm glad you found it funny. Someone says it's a work. Naya getting involved was the tipping point. Again, it could be a work. You never know. As Dave Meltzer said, she'll be at WrestleMania in LA. Ninja One True said the old school wrestlers were tougher than MMA, while Mad Dog Vachon, a guy like him, is about as tough as they come. That guy would fight anybody. Mark, my bitch, wrestling blows now. Matthew Medstid, Rousey versus Nia is a work. Victor Ace says Drew McDonald and Nikki Jax, I'm dead. Did I mispronounce one of their names? I don't know. Sorry. I don't. I only read the news. Sorry. And I don't have my glasses on. What weight class did I wrestle in? Heavyweight. I was heavyweight. Not during my younger high school days, but my sophomore and senior years, I was heavyweight. And after high school, I was always heavyweight. Have I interviewed New Jack? No, I would, though. Al says Moolah would have given Rousey a stink face. Coach G put Rousey in with Clarissa Shields on females who actually got that smoke. She's a marketing tool who stole Roddy Piper's gimmick. I was not a fan of them giving her Roddy Piper's gimmick. Really not. I thought that was lame. My name is Finley and I love to fight. Victor A says. Todd Thompson says Goldberg sucked. Did I ever wrestle Viscera? Wasteland Warrior says no, I did not. WWE kept pressuring Roman. Cody D says yeah, and Roman's the one guy who's like a made guy. He could step away and still come back. You know, some people that are like struggling for their spots, if they step away, they may never get their spot back. Todd Thompson, Brock, and Braun have 4 moves combined. Nico Tienerman, did Abdullah give me hepatitis C? Well, it was proven in the US and Canada. He did give me hepatitis C, yes. I was tested shortly before I ever wrestled him. Did not have it. He had it for at least 10 years before he started wrestling me. We both had the same type. There's numerous different types of it. How many times did I wrestle him? I'd have to actually think about it, but numerous times. Just wait until they bring back Goldberg for a weight ratings pop up. Heart Short Guy says, what's Wendy Victor doing? I don't know. Pennsylvania Patty 72. Thanks for watching. How's Tony Gurria doing? Zan says, I've seen him around. I think he still has ties to WWE. Revival to AEW. Yeah, it appears that way. Finley is underrated. Underdog says, did I ever wrestle any UFC guys in amateur wrestling? No. I have wrestled Dan Severin and what's his name? Tom Lawler in professional wrestling, though. Favorite current UFC fighter, Johnny Boy asked me. I guess I would say John Jones. If I could ask Vince McMahon one question, what would it be? Mike Vanderlip says, that's something I'd really have to think about. Richard M., do I know Molly Holly? I met her many times when I was doing extra work for WWE. She was very nice, but those were the only times I met her. Kamala 2111. I grew tired of Rousey's attitude towards the fans. Hank Q. John Cena is bad for WWE. The Grease. Did I go for a run tonight? I'm going to go for one around 11 p.m. Mr. Skills 123. I saw Abdullah wrestle 20-some years ago, and he did use a glass bottle to cut someone's forehead. Crazy, bloody too. Yeah, he likes doing the glass stuff. And again, I'm not complaining about the glass. I agreed to the glass stuff being cut with a blade that he'd use on himself. I didn't agree to. And he didn't notify me that he was Hep C positive before bleeding with me. So those are the issues I have with him. I was actually friends with him before I found out that he passed me hepatitis C. I considered him like a grandfather type figure. Deadpool Lee, have Sonny and Rhonda make a video together. Anything from model Rick Martel? Someone's asking. He told me he wants nothing to do with wrestling. I've asked him because he doesn't live too far from me. He doesn't want anything to do with wrestling anymore. I'd asked Vince McMahon who died first, John Cena or the XFL. That's what Hank Q says. Victor A., the question I'd ask Vince is Susan St. James, Stephanie's real mom. Ha ha ha. By the way, I did an interview with Amber Nova this week. You guys should look it up. Beautiful young lady, great body on her. Very great personality too. Sometimes a lot of divas are really arrogant or stuck up. She's very nice, but she tells a funny story. They did Stephanie McMahon undercover boss at the wrestling school she trains at. And because she figured out that it was Stephanie McMahon, which was pretty obvious, I actually went and looked at some clips from the episode. Because she was open about figuring out that it was her, they cut her out of the show. So that's one story she said. Eric Cross, how long have I been doing shoots for? I started the Hannibal TV in 2015. I have been doing shoot interviews, well, really since about then. I did some interviews for other people before that. Like that Honky Tonk Man was originally done for another purpose. That long one, 3-hour one that has like 3 million hits. That was originally done for another purpose. And some of the other ones, I just did those interviews, never expecting them to be shoots. And then we figured out when I started a YouTube channel, I originally started this channel to post Great North Wrestling matches on, but I noticed that the clips of my interviews were getting a lot more hits. So then I just decided, okay, I'm going to change to focus on shoot interviews now. How's Coco Beware doing? I don't know. I had a bad experience with Coco Beware, and that really turned me off of him. What was my best bench press back? Well, around the time I was in Puerto Rico, probably I would say even before that, probably from like 2003 to 2009, before my first hepatitis C treatment, I was benching over 500 pounds. I went through 2 treatments. Both of them caused me to lose weight, but I never really went back as big as I was before, prior to undergoing my treatments. And that was also just personally, I've done more cardio in recent years. I like doing cardio. Back when I was at my strongest, I was not doing much cardio. I was doing like a lot of powerlifting stuff. And I was like between 290 and sometimes as heavy as 310. Before this, I was actually at one of my peak sizes. I was actually 293 before this lockdown, and still good cardio and getting really strong. But this has fucked everything up. Thoughts on Dark Side of the Ring? Jordan Henley's asked me. I did a whole review of the Brawl for All and watch my. I've told my views on it. I think the producers of it are a bunch of dorks. They're not Sherlock Holmes. They're not Watson, to quote Kevin Sullivan. It's cool that they're doing interviews and getting them more attention, but their research is poor. I think their reporting is poor and biased. Jas Bapari, Tiger Jeet Singh shoot interview. Yeah, I would do it. Vladimir Kozlov interview. There is a short one on here. Jonathan Nail, congratulations, Ronda Rousey, for successfully burying your career. Rat Pack NYC, my thoughts on the Revival leaving WWE. I've never actually seen the Revival wrestle. They're not the type of people that interest me. They're going to AEW from all reports. They asked for their release. So good for them that they got what they want. I have nothing against them. As I said, I haven't seen them wrestle. I've heard they're a lot like the Brainbusters, and I'll be honest, I wasn't a fan of the Brainbusters, so I haven't been motivated to watch them, but I have nothing against them. I have a small-time YouTube channel that covers MMA, but getting into some wrestling content. Would I be interested in appearing? Mo Screams asked me that. Any appearance or anything requests you can send to greatnorthwrestling@gmail.com. Cocoa Butter, hey everybody. I've been obsessed with these wrestling stories since I found out about Dark Side of the Ring. Wrestlers were my heroes when I was a kid. Feel free to call me Coco. Dark Moon Warrior, Shadi Khan interview. I don't think the Khans. I tried to contact AEW about getting me on their media list and never heard back, because I've seen some of the reporters that they have at these post-event conferences, and I have more viewers than a lot of them, and I'm also more credible than a lot, but for some reason they don't want me to. Someone saying we should be able to do a Buff Bagwell interview tomorrow. I'm working on it. We were supposed to do it a few days ago, but he says we're going to do it tomorrow, so let's hope it works out for tomorrow. Nico Tienerman, superstar Billy Graham, is amazing. He had more health issues than anybody that I can think of, yet he is still alive at 76. How's he doing now? Well, he still has health issues. He still has a GoFundMe, but he's doing well. He has a Facebook page. Look it up there. What's my favorite wrestling promotion? Neo GX01 says Great North Wrestling. Joe Assenalt, any Macho Man story? Well, Great North Wrestling did put on the only official Macho Man tribute show. I would suggest that people look that up. Lanny Poffo, Macho Man's brother, is in it. Jay Lethal is in it. I'm in it. Greg Valentine was supposed to be in it, but he no-showed. But it was a great night, and I felt it was a great tribute to Randy. We had about 1,100 people in attendance. Will I ever interview Pat Patterson? The one time I asked him to do an interview, he said no. So I would say no. Will I ever go to the UK? Jamie Boole says, well, I did wrestle there for All-Star Wrestling in 2008. Before all of this lockdown happened, I was planning to go to Gloucestershire, England in November, but it appears that is off. Okay, I'll only answer one more. There's a lot of questions. Who was better for wrestling, Jim Cornette or Vince Russo? Well, Vince Russo did pop the Attitude Era, one of the peaks of wrestling. I'm not sure what Jim Cornette ever popped. I have nothing against him, but his Smoky Mountain Wrestling went out of business. He was a manager for a long time. He helped get people over, but I'm not sure he ever actually helped pop an entire peak era in wrestling. So there you go. I'll cut it at that. I really appreciate all your questions. Eric Cross says, thanks for what I do for wrestling. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for all you fans. If I didn't answer your questions today, I'll answer them another day. I'm going to go out for my run now. It's windy again today, but hopefully it'll be less cold than last night. Last night was brutally cold.